Hello again, everybody. Welcome to Wars Going On. This is going to be our weekly episode. Please do remember that this podcast is a community-based series where we cover the ongoings in Watcher Realms and choose topics based on our community's feedback. So you are welcome to join our Discord, invitation code Dragon Slayers. Look for that thread that says Wars Going On and start talking about the game. You will probably motivate Arturos and I to pick a topic that is going on and cover it here in the series. And do remember to hit like and subscribe to get notified of future episodes. Now, if you look beside me here, that does not look like Arturos. No, Arturos did not get any type of plastic surgery. Arturos is taking a well-deserved rest this week, but I was able to get guest host MortarMike to join me. So thank you very much for joining me today. I do appreciate it. I know your time is valuable.
Oh man, even time valuable or not, I'm glad to be able to do this. These are fun, and it's just conversation with friends. So I love it.
And I enjoyed discussing the game with you. You know, you're one of my favorite people to discuss the game here.
Likewise.
So I thought, let's cover the new ongoings, something that kind of developed over the last couple of weeks, and also kind of rescue that last half episode that we had where, unfortunately, the gremlins got Arturos' laptop and said, no, you people cannot see this. You guys are giving too many good ideas. So we'll try to get there.
We don't like water, see if you like water.
Exactly. Yeah, so let's start here. So I'm in the background here, folks. I am in my let me make sure that I'm not screwing things up here. But I am in my Forerunners account, and this is where sometimes things pop on a little bit earlier than global in the test servers. So we'll use this here. But MortarMike, they finally introduced another mage to the Northerners, and we welcome that, given that there is a restriction with mages in the faction trials. And Glacius comes into Tia, as you say, and he looks to be kind of akin to Vortex, right? I mean, except that he is frozen a little bit, so they kind of copied
Vortex
that.
Vortex has been hung around Cyclone too long.
Yeah, exactly. So they kind of it's like a hybrid too. You're right. Yeah, the purple diamonds and stuff here, but again, his kit is what is unique for a mage, I think, because it's single target hitter, right? And he does the same thing that the cultists do, which is apply a slow and freeze, or they applies a slow more to make sure they can CC to some extent the enemies, but then being a true northerner, he can also inflict a freeze. Now, what I did find really curious was the fact that for him, not only does he apply his own shield, so he doesn't really need a lord to come with him. A lord just boosts him, right? But he applies his own shield, and because of that shield with that ultimate, he then does the damage that he can do. So at least to me, that screams boss battles.
Yeah, boss battles. I think what's interesting is it's going to be great for GVG, not GVG. You know what? I'll say that. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be great for Guild v Guild because you still have the Pharaoh, but his ult being able to hit multiple targets and get freezes and slows out there may be a good mix-up. I don't know yet. It's still worth testing. But as far as bosses, 100%. And I love the fact that it's a kit that is versatile, but it's still a lot of stuff you can add to it to scale it up. Like you said before, he makes his own shields, but you can improve those shields. And also you have to still think of the timing of it if you want to go even above and beyond to situations where people are even saying that he's more powerful than Silas in some caveats. I'm not going to say all, let's be clear. Silas is an OG. But there are a lot of instances where his damage skyrockets. And you were telling me right before the podcast, if you can get your timings right, I want to know more about that. If you get your timings right, you really can get some crazy damage out of him. So I just like also the fact that slows and freeze are just regularly coming out of his kit too. So that's always a big plus for me.
It's got so it's kind of a spoiler. Kind of gave you a rundown of the testing that I did in the video that I'm going to release, and I'm probably going to be having the same sentiment that other content creators have. But the one thing that I did notice is that his damage does depend on that shield. So if you're going to bring him into Drake's Castle or to Semrah, you do want to make sure that his ultimate gets activated during like a down period where you are not going to get that serious damage, because if he loses his shield, his damage just drops. It's just evident in that. So you want to make sure that you time it right in terms of when you're going to activate that. So if others are saying that, like you said, that he's hitting harder than the Silas, I believe that, but that's probably in a vacuum, right? Yeah. So everything is perfect for him. But if he loses his shield, you're going to see a drastic decrease in the overall damage that you're going to see over the period of the battle.
Yeah, I'm kind of proud of the Northerners. They're starting to hit back. It's starting to hit pretty hard. So I'm enjoying that all these factions are getting a little more balance added to them now. It's usually Valks and Nocturnes and Ardea's job to do most of the heavy lifting out there.
Yeah, exactly.
We have to find love for Shamir to get this thing to work, but I like that the new ones are out here and they do great damage. So good options.
Shamir can do some very good things. It's just he has to be on it. He's a kind of end game type hero. You do need the gear to make him pop. It's just unfortunate if, when he gets cast aside early on, because people are telling him, well, Shamir's not going to help you early on. That's right. But in eventually over time, he does build up. But Glacius, he's going to be somebody that I think that if you develop your Northerners, if you have a lot of Northerners, he just adds that much needed punch that faction needed, number one. And number two, if you were lucky enough to get Jira, now you're talking about building that composition. And this is why I told people over time is don't ignore Falcia if you can get her. Over time, new heroes are going to come into the game where you can build something with her. And then the damage between everybody is going to be, for that faction is going to work in your favor, especially dealing with the bosses here.
Yeah, this game does a good job of doing what other gacha games do in reverse, where they'll give you the content that's too hard and then give you the champion. They give you the chance to go for the champion, and if you decide on that, you got them. If not, then the content comes out afterwards. So you get first dibs on getting it. So if you think of it that way, it sets you up for a lot of success.
Now, the one comment that you made about Glacius and CVC, we'll see if he's powerful enough to deal with the units, but then again, you can just send someone like that to Faroa and maybe he'll focus on him. But I do think that he might be one of those heroes where it might dissuade you using that new hero, the new Demon Soldier, right? Because he can freeze him. That Demon Soldier might be immune, but he can still freeze him. So we'll see. We'll see what happens when we know that there are some very good GVG minds out there that would probably make it.
And look, the way that I saw these last two runs of Guild v Guild, I think people are still under attacks and defenses all over again. So it's plenty of good time for a shakeup.
Yeah, exactly. Correct. The meta hasn't been built yet, so I don't think. But
That's true.
There's some interesting stuff going around in the GVG landscape right now.
A lot of teams losing to rushers right now.
That was one of the comments made in our community. It's like, hey, people just swarm them. That seems to be what works these days. I was like, okay, well, if you want to try that on my defense, good luck, but I don't think it's going to work. Okay, here with the other thing that was just recently released. Forerunner side during the update between Thursday to Friday, test server just got it. Gear recommendations. Oh, God,
this is so beautiful.
It is so beautiful, isn't it? So,
and it's thorough.
Now we get a chance to tell it what to put thumbs up on and not put thumbs up on double flat stat gear, for example, right? So let's play around with one here. So so you can see that there's some already presets that were already built into it. I did not create that. This is just the default ones. You can come in and modify when this rolls out into global. But let's just say I want to create a new rule, and I'm going to create, I have to give it a name because otherwise it won't save it. So let's just focus on one of our favorite sets here. and say Warlord. Okay, so it's gonna ask us the default, the main stat is default, so it won't give you the option. But if you do something like the bangle, the ring, or the amulet, it'll tell you which main stats do you want to focus. I can show you that in a minute. But let's say Warlord. Okay, so what substats does Sebastian look for? Well, I want attack bonus, crit rate, crit damage, rage regen if you want to give it to me, and attack speed. It may be some flat attack, but the flat attack is very specific for me because I need 3 of the other stats before I can consider the flat attack, right? So what about you? Would that be something similar to what you would set your rule at for Warlord?
It'd be exactly the same for me. The only thing is I'm a little back and forth on the attack. It's still good. It's still great to have, but I like to have the emphasis on the other ones if I can help it. But I will say, that little attack goes a long way when it shows up on 3 different pieces of gear.
So if we would get, if we actually GR1 would drop Godsend attack bonus, crit damage, crit rate here, I guess the attack would just be an added bonus to it, right? And so because of how I actually cleanse the left-hand side of the gear, I am going to tell it, I want 3 of these stats before I even consider it, right? So that's where that 3 is going to come in. So I want to see 3 of these substats before anything else, or otherwise it's going to be just an auto sell for me. I'm going to click OK. Now the rule has been created, and now the when I farm GR1 is going to take this into account. So that's the 2-piece set. And now here for the 3-piece set, I actually created one just because this is just Sebastian playing around with it. We do have some HP and defense-based heroes in the game that can do a little bit of damage. So in this one, I created one where it was HP or defense, and it would be HP, rage regen, crit rate, crit damage, attack speed, just as an example. So I'm going to tell it, yep, I want at least 3 of those, and we're going to save it. So that's exactly how you can do it. And then if you look at the presets, what they pretty much they said is, okay, here are all the damage-based ones. Here are the ones that we consider to be the proper main stats for this. So they picked attack bonus, crit rate, crit damage, attack speed. And then when it came to the substats, this is their default. So for me, I'm going to say, I'm going to take that one out, and I want 3 of that. Now it's my rule. And now this is what I should see, hopefully, right?
You know what's so cool about this too? You can be extra granular about this. You know how many Glacier sets go by that you really could have used if the right stats were already ready for it, but you're trying to build a Trusk or an Azor for some scenario, and you never get the right pieces because is not recommended for you, but you can set a specific thing for that gear set to get recommended gear for when you're building that 1 or 2 champions that have the oddball gear sets, the oddball gears, oddball skills.
So one of the things, at least for Guardian, and this is more GBG centric, and this is the ideology right now, is that yes, you're going to be looking for defensive and HP pieces because that is how you want to build your heroes. But if your heroes can do a little bit of damage, you might as well try to get crit rate into it, right? So I know that in some instances nowadays, I am looking for crit rate in my Guardian sets so the tanks can do a little bit of damage. So that's one rule that you can specifically make for this. And you just got to make sure that hopefully... I gotta name it. That hopefully, eventually, this rule thing picks it up, and then you're able to save it. But so you can base the rule in very unique situations, and like you said, if you now are looking for Glacier sets that are really specialized, and you want a particular set of subsets, now that rule will allow you, and then you should see the thumb up come up right away. So
and now you won't have a bunch of healing gear sets just sitting at the top of every gear list.
Well, that's another one too. So now when you do your multi-battles and it says at the bottom, just, you can click, there should be like a little setting that allows you to click on it. And then everything that does not have the thumbs up gets automatically selected, and then you can wipe it down. So if you trust the system, you can just right away clean all of that out. And if you're one of those that are really bad about doing gear cleanses, then now here in the cell, it should hopefully put a thumbs up on anything that you may have not leveled, and then that is set to the filter. And unfortunately, I don't have a lot of pieces here unleveled, but
you've been working hard.
Yeah, the general guide has been always, just sell anything that usually does not have the thumbs up.
Yeah, and what's cool about this too is like this is the beginning of year 2. You know how many years you have to wait in other games to get this option?
My God, yeah, it's like I see, and sometimes we may be overcritical and stuff that we think needs a little bit of a fix or needs like a revision, but they don't tell us that they're doing anything like this. And then sometimes what happens is that somebody asks that specific question, and then in Dave's insight, oh, we're already working on this. But they do it in a manner where it's something that they're already going to release or is set to be released. It's not something that they're working in development, right? It's something that they feel confident enough that they're going to release it. So they say, hey, we got you. Don't you worry about it.
You know, the only thing that I want to be added to this equation is just make more videos talking about the good stuff they've been doing in the game. There's so much that happens that you only know from other YouTubers. If you follow them and if they make a video to cover it and their opinion of it, how about give a clean slate? Hey, we'll allow you to do this. Allow you to do that. The update drops on this time. Because I said it before in an interview, I think it was like 2 days ago. I was like, the last thing you want to do is wake up in the morning and have 7 people reading over the kits of the game, which is fair when you have your favorites. But like, why not have them jump ahead and have something for us to react to too? Maybe there's something we don't know yet. That'd be awesome.
That was one of the comments that I had made initially was when they asked me to just cover Forerunner stuff, and I would say, okay, so usually the updates for me are dropping on Thursdays at 4 a.m. And I'm like,
yeah, same.
It's hard for me to do a video then. So I kindly asked, is there any chance you guys can give me like a 24-hour, and then then put an embargo on it. Just tell me, don't release it before this time. And they said, no, you can't have it before it's released in the game. So I was like, okay, we'll work with it. So what I like to do now is just exactly what I did here is, okay, so people know that Forerunner's got an update, but people are just reading patch notes. That I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to actually try to show you what the update was. And then if there's any vagueness in the word, on the description, then I can kind of clarify, and say, okay, here is exactly what is happening. So
I'm so ready. I will tell people though, don't do that drawing where you start to you click get rid of all defense and HP, and you don't click the 2 left pieces again.
That's
early
done
in the game.
So be very careful as you set the rules, and always test it at the beginning, right? Go through your gear after you farm and make sure, and then once everything you feel comfortable that it's doing exactly what you set it to do, then just start wiping things out right away. All right, so an A+ on that feature is going to be a godsend for a lot of people, and I think for a lot it's going to make gear cleansing so much easier. So to those CCs that were charging for gear cleanses, I apologize. You're probably going to lose a revenue stream.
I think some of them are happy for it to be gone, to be honest.
Maybe that's the case. So, all right. So the other little thing that they changed is that they're going to improve the Guild War rewards, and it actually has to do with the central keep. So essentially what they're trying to do is they're trying to encourage people to attack that central keep. So if you are successful, apparently you're going to get extra rewards from it.
I think you get extra rewards for that. Also, your individual rewards as well are better for going for Central Keep as a whole. So it sounds more challenging, but hey, look, once you figure out how to break a team or 2 down and you reserve yourself to take them out, you could do nice out there. And take it from me. I've wrecked a lot of runs, but I've done a few good ones too.
But what's also going to be, I think, is a positive, is that the new tower map that we have is kind of a mimic of the central keep.
Yes, it is.
The central keep is still a little bit longer, but it's a mimic of it. So if you feel eventually of time, you start feeling comfortable on getting the timings down in the tower, you should be able to get the central keeps.
Yeah, it is like Central Keep Light.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, big news. I think that this is big because now we can postulate as to what they might be thinking. In Forerunners, and I still haven't run my key, so I don't know exactly how they did it, but they reduced the difficulty of Semrah Apocalypse I.
Now, this is going to be huge for all of the player base, and because of two reasons. One, easier rewards to get, but two, where there's easier, where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yes. So one of the things that you and I were discussing was, okay, so there's a lot of, there's a lot of the content creators are coming, including me, saying, okay, here's like a easily accessible champion setup that you could use for this. But at least in my case was, you need the gear. You just can't be bringing... You just can't be bringing 18 level gear rate, level 18 gear into this and expect to get 30,000. You are going to need to be farming 19, 20, 21 to try to push into 30,000. Now I'm wondering if this is going to now encourage those mid late game players to do this. And let's see if they can actually push 30,000 with those Night Terror sets and those Wisdom sets.
Yeah. You know what I think they're trying to do? So this is a pattern I've been seeing. They're following the same pattern they did with Gear Dungeons, where they started with a couple of levels, just enough to get the content out for people to try it, get feedback, and then stretch it out to the player base so that everybody can get their share in on it. I think they did the same thing with Semrah because there's a big difference between APOC 1 and APOC 2. But when you see where the player base is at, from there you can kind of gauge it, but it takes a little player testing. It takes a little running, it takes a little difficulty, it takes getting the bugs out first. Talking to you, Lucius, I know there's some work to do, but we're doing it. But it's a great thing that they start one area and then keep improving on it. Well, let me tell you about the time I waited for a Hydra head for 3 years, but never mind.
No, that was a never mind. But to me, this also says, oh yeah, you're making it easy for players in 1, and 2 is providing a challenge. You're supposed to have the heroes for that. But if they're doing this, 3 is coming up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And I hope that if 3 comes, I will be honest, I think 3 should have slightly different mechanics. I don't know how it's going to play out. I don't think it should be exactly the same. I think it should be a little just like the original Guild Boss. Well, I mean, the only thing that changes is the colors on that one. But I want to see if they just evolve mechanics, like they make it more specific on freeze or stuns to make it through than just DPS, like some people would try to.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping to see. Either a mode gets replaced, something else comes into play, so maybe a different cast of heroes come into play, or you add to the 3 that we already have. Something different. Yeah. Just don't make it the same thing that 2 is, right? Where you're just trying to get through the 3 modes and do it as quickly as you can. So, and
now, there was a rumor.
Yes,
there was a rumor very early on when Semrah came out that I remember it being told. I'm not sure where it's from, but I do remember this being told, and it's legitimate enough for me to back it to say it could be a very big option. They talked about having more arms for the boss. So those are the first 3 for maybe APOC 1 and 2. APOC 3 and 4 can have different arms that are even tougher or have slightly different mechanics that you really got to pay attention to. So I would love to see them add more mechanics to this boss.
Yes, and that would make it more intriguing as well. So, and then you don't have to worry about just making sure that you have every top hero that does damage awaken 5 for you to be able to get the top chest. Maybe something else comes into play where other heroes can actually shine in the content. Now, then a couple of other enhancements to this that now they're saying that they're going to be adding a reward enhancement feature for the quests. So we're talking about the daily, weekly, monthly quests that we see in the game, and we do. Now, I didn't take a screenshot of it, unfortunately, but I completed the daily quests as soon as the update rolled out, and all of a sudden, a little like a little screen came out and it said, here's an extra 100 diamonds because of your activity. So it's probably because I've been clearing daily quests almost daily as when I log into the account. So if you complete your weekly and your monthlies and you constantly do it, it apparently is going to give you more rewards in addition to whatever's at the top that says, here is an ancient crystal or a rare crystal for completing the 10 quests.
Yeah. I mean, it's not to sound like I'm a hire or something, but they're kind of sticking with the term reward gives you more. And like you can, the pace of stuff, the rewards, the champion pace, even all of that, like it's fast forwarded.
Yes, exactly. Other minor things. Apparently, the visual presentation of Titan and Immortal Codex battles has changed, so we'll probably see that when we run it. I'm more looking forward to looking how it looks when I use the PC client instead of the emulator here, because it usually pops a little bit more there. And finally, they're going to fix that issue that we have with some of our heroes, Ultimate, not casting when you click on the button. Right? Falcia, talking to you. When I say ultimate, go. Yeah, exactly. That was one of the heroes that I had problems with. Like, I'm pretty sure I double clicked on it and it wasn't going. So apparently they fixed that. And they didn't say specifically what special effects they're going to be, but they're adding new special effects to variant gear. So hopefully we don't get...
I really hope that list comes out soon. That is one of the most interesting parts of the game to me.
Yeah, well, and I'd rather see something than not being able to be revived or not being able to be redeployed.
I got one of those pieces. My gosh. I didn't realize I had it on the champion until they died, and I saw 300 seconds. I was like, whoa. I just took the gear off.
And it's funny to see that on Discord sometimes. Hey, guys, I can't redeploy my hero for some reason. Check your gear. Check your gear. Is your gear, bud? Sorry. It's
the last stand.
Exactly. All right. So while we have here this in the background, I just let's go to the topic, the missing the last episode topic that we were going through. Mm-hmm. So it was essentially us covering what the major content that has been released over the last, let's say now 3 months. And as we kind of evaluate the new content, we went through what the developers' notes were in the future content that was coming out in the game. Specifically, the developer interviews that Fastidious and Ivy League Gaming did. And then we kind of just started going back and forth, talking about what we would like to see in addition to what they are releasing, and whatever they're proposing to release. It was kind of like, let's hope we don't see this type of deal, and that things like this would change. So let's go to let's keep in mind the major ones, which were Semrah, the limited time gameplay that we had, right? So those chapter, alpha, beta, and then the spiral, that was unique.
That was fun too.
The Void Rift epilogue, which just came out, and people have been getting a shot at it.
It's beating the brakes off of me right now.
Some of the stages are difficult. Yeah, they did not mean this. Yeah, they did not mean to make this so easy that you're going to get easy rewards. No, you got to work on it. And then here for us in Forerunners, and I know you and Test Server have been developing the camp. It looks like they are getting stuff ready to release this into global, so we can kind of go over this a little bit as well, if you want. Yeah. But as the content as a whole that has been released, I know I always love new content, especially stuff that doesn't take over and you constantly have to be on top of it. I welcomed it. I actually welcomed it, and I thought that little things like Semrah and the spiral just added a fresh breath air to the regular day-to-day content that we have in the game.
I love when they add content, you don't just figure out how to beat and then auto. Like, you got to think a little beyond. Like, having to play your like all your champions are completely different when they don't have any gear to think about. They don't have any skill crystals to think about. You put them out as like chess pieces. And you just got to solve the problems with who you have. If you got good champions, you get great stuff done. But I love that just took away the gear aspect altogether. Are you skilled enough to play the game? And I love when they make content that you think about how to solve it. And we've said this before. If you ever thought content was too easy or there's not enough content, stop watching guides for a week.
Yeah, exactly.
Just play it and figure it out yourself. It's a different story.
That's one of my rules is I want to try it first, and being a content creator I think helps as well. I want to try it first. I want to see where in the hell I'm going wrong, or if I'm going to get it, if I understand it. And sometimes I use, if I really do get frustrated, I do go over and peek at lineups that people have beaten. Unfortunately, sometimes though, the lineups are, you have heroes that you usually you wish you had in your account, but yeah, exactly. So very, very seldom do you see one with all epics, right? For example. So, but it's fun to try to figure out the puzzle. And I know that some people get frustrated at it and they start asking questions as to what hero do you use? What do I have to do here? Or so, but I know that there was one stage in the spiral where there was a bug that was being released on top, and then it would come down. And if you didn't take care of it, it would stun your hero, your long range hero. And right, and when it's done, then
talking about too,
everybody else would just go after the barricade, and then you would lose the level. So it was kind of fun trying to deal with that bug. And then I figured, well, I need somebody that has a high redeployment or low redeployment time that I can put up there, take the stun, and then pull them back. And it's like, who can do that? Oh, hey, Aatrox can do that. And so then I tried to balance out and said, okay, I'm going to bring Aatrox. Boom, put him right in front of the bug, get him out of the way, and then bring him back out. So that was the type
I just like that. Like,
yeah, exactly. It's like you're like, I'm not using Aatrox in any of this other stuff anymore. But all of a sudden in your mind, you just think of, oh, I have this hero. He's right here. Let's use him.
Yeah. I like I said, like if the content is engaging and fun, that's always a plus for me. There's always going to be a limit of some content that you have to have the top premium champions to do it. That should exist in every game. But I love when they put content out where the majority of the player base can jump in there and have, for the most part, a fairly equal experience. Where it's just, hey, do you know how to use your champions? Are you aware of what your guys do? Okay, they don't have skill crystals. How do they work now? Like, I tried Zilla2 in there. It was not the same Zilla2 I'm used to. So she comes in at like 40% rage instead of 90-something. So it's so different a champion. You got to realize how to play with them now.
Yeah, exactly. So to carry the discussion then with the spiral and so they said that as of early of 2025, possibly, there could be this roguelite new tower defense type element added to the game that is really not based on your hero level, or not level, but gearing or artifact, but it's more, it's going to be more puzzle solving, structured, where then you progress based on how you are doing in that content.
Yeah, I welcome it. I would love it. I love it. See, this is like the speed of this stuff coming out, and like you said before, it doesn't feel cumbersome. It doesn't feel like, oh, I have to do all of these things. I like the fact that they're limited time events. They're not stuff that's around for 6 months to a year. It gives you a chance to get used to it without it being, oh, we put 20 pieces of content in and figure them all out. I like the pace of it. The rotation feel is kind of nice.
So in the way that I describe it is that, I don't know if you know about Dragonair. They started out trying to be a seasonal type gacha game, and they would reset things every season, so you would then have to redo everything every 3 months. But eventually, the structure of it, the house of cards eventually fell on them because people were starting out at different points from during different periods of time, so that we weren't being really restricted into different servers, and they were never allowed to catch up to end gamers.
Oh, this here, I didn't know. Right? I didn't know how the season thing worked in Dragonair.
That's exactly how it was working. So essentially, what it did is like it fractured the community. So everybody was in a different bucket. Everybody was there. When Watcher of Realms release stuff like this is what I think of in terms of seasonal content within a gacha game where you have some continuity. So there's always something to work on where the new players now coming in can go ahead and progress, right? Very, at their pace, and catch up to the end game if they can. And in this game right now, if you start out early and you grind it out, you can catch up relatively quickly.
Yeah, you can cover a lot of ground. And they give you so many champions that are actually useful in the game.
Yeah. But then in addition, then they say, okay, now we have this new content that is limited, is seasonal, but it's something that you can use your heroes, or you try to get the idea of the tower defense idea behind it. And that's why we like the game to begin with, the tower defense aspect of it. So when they add content like this, it's like, and you know it's going to be there for a limited time, that's fine. But at least it's something that you can work on the side, along with trying to then develop your account and bring it to the end game. And so I think that they did it the right way. When it came to seasonal stuff, I think that that's the right way to do it. And I think that they did a phenomenal job with it. So I'm looking forward to whatever it is they have coming down the pipeline. And if this is going to be like every quarter, you know, so every 3 months, something like this comes out, awesome. More for us to do, more for us to cover and to talk about within.
Yeah, and you got to think, like, this is the first year of them doing it. This is technically the toughest year for games like this. Exactly. They make or break the game if they're going to succeed or not. And I'm going to give that pacing like an 8.5 or a 9 out of 10 of how they put everything out in the first year. I want to say it's pretty good. I still want videos telling me the stories of what's going on, but other than that, I enjoy logging in. Even the grind side of it, it hasn't gotten so mundane that I dislike it. It's just like, hey, I'm figuring this thing out, and the game's still new enough to fix issues. And my goodness, I'm glad they fix issues. They work very quickly. Whether the small fix or big fix, they work quickly. So, and that's a plus for me.
So how about this? How about for new content? We take one of the dungeon bosses and we team him up with Semrah, and we have to fight him in the big city.
Don't you dare!
No, okay. That was an idea. We'll check that. Man. We'll check that. No, we'll cross that out. Okay, all right. Let's move on to the next one.
It's like going to 3 different parties and having dinner at each one. The next day they mix the same meals up, and put it on the plate.
I just thought that was for those of you watching this, if you want, you can go look for Fastidious's fundraising event that he had for his website. Look for the first episode. MortarMike and I were invited to come in, and we actually came in around the same time. And then Destin joined in, and when Destin joined in, the wheels fell off. We roasted Raid Shadow Legends, and we didn't mean to, but it happened. So you can go see that conversation. And
we roasted them because they electrocuted a chicken. So
they electrocuted a chicken. That's correct. But don't laugh too hard, because according to the lickers, there is a chicken coming to the game.
I'm okay with that as long as it's not a self-cooking chicken. I'm good with that.
We'll figure that out, right? Okay, so for those that enjoy the campaign, apparently we're going to have hard expert stages 9+.
Yeah.
They said 9+, so I'm hoping 10, 11 as well, right? But then I'm thinking to myself, what's Chapter 9 expert going to look like?
Because the last one was crazy.
Those late, it's like I was trying to open that last experience stage, and I was like, "Whoa, this is punishing." You really, you better give us like double the experience. No, it isn't double, but for the challenge. But that was a challenging stage. Yeah, exactly.
But I like that. That's how I want campaign to feel. If I'm going to play a game mode, it's got to be some area where I have to turn my brain on. Because if that doesn't exist, I'm just going to auto it and never return to it, which is what happens in most of campaign. Once you beat it, you don't come back to it. So it should be some kind of an experience. If it's part of the main story, it really should be something that's one of the bigger challenges in the game. But yeah, when it just kept throwing bosses at us, I was like, oh, there's another one. Okay.
Yeah, and now it's like they're showing up in the middle of the chapter. So it's like, if you want to keep going, you have to beat this guy. And I was like, okay, fine. But holy, I don't know what Expert 926 is going to look like. That just sounds demonic at this point.
That's going to be crazy. Yeah. Okay. Give us time for the play for champion pool. Give it time for it to fill out.
All right, so then besides the Void Rift epilogue, there might be something else in terms of the Void Rift coming along as well. I don't know if it's going to be an Ultra Nightmare. Arcturus is more of an idea that it's just going to be another Portal edition of Void Rift, where difficulty is going to be a lot higher. So hopefully, then the rewards reflect that.
Yeah, I'm cool with that too. And it did mention that there are new bosses that are coming for Void Rift. There's already a Boreas boss that's been created. There's another one or two that's already in the works. So they're going to either add them to the rotation or add them to the higher difficulty. My guess is just going to be the rotation. But I'm interested to see what they make.
That would be my expectation as well. But I don't. Arcturus doesn't think that the Ultra Nightmare idea is coming up. It's going to be something else in addition to the Void Rift. Now, the thing that they're going to have to balance out is if this Void Rift that we have is weekly, is the other one going to be monthly? You know, just little things like that, so it doesn't overburden the player base too much in terms of the things that they have to do every week.
Yeah, I'm here for, and I'm gonna say too, one of my favorite parts of the content, and it's probably going to lead into one of the things we're talking about in a few minutes. I absolutely love how they flip the game on its head, and now you can play as the demons. You can play as the offense and go and attack different areas and stuff. And I love that they're not shying away from it. They've made game modes, and then they set them in the game in case you still need to catch up with the rest of the player base. At first it was limited. Now you can go in every day and get the stuff that you need to kind of catch up with the rest. And then, like, you know, you just have so much content that they could expand on with that type of gameplay. So I got an idea for that. When we get down to like stuff that we want, I'll be ready.
Well, I think that comes with the whole general idea right now of the gameplay. So if you want to bring that up now, go ahead, because we are talking about like PvE stuff, right? For me, the Demonic Crusade, I mean, that was like you said, for me it was very interesting content, because now we're using our demon soldiers for something else. And even though for me, if somebody like me, it is done and forgotten, I still get messages on YouTube saying, hey, thanks for your guide, I finally clear this thing. And I keep forgetting there's all these early, mid, late game players that are still trying to battle that content because they might not have the demon soldiers, or their demon soldiers are not powerful enough to clear it, or they don't have the BP to do it. So so that content's still there. So now I'm just waiting for the next one. What's the next? Is it the next castle that they're changing? Is it what else is going to be added to that? So what else do you have that you decide?
Yeah, I saw there's some new castles coming, so I'm interested to see what they're going to do with that. Yeah.
So do you have any other desires besides, like boss encounters, seasonal aspects, or seasonal content?
Oh, yeah. So there's one that I've thought of. I'm like 6 bosses in at this point. The idea. I want a Demon Soldiers content. I want Demon Soldiers content where you play against they're boss battles for demon soldiers. So you use the demons, and you have an unlimited pool of them. So you can always use the same 5 that you picked, or the same 6 or whatever. But it's against bosses, but the bosses are different faction lords. So Cyrus could be one of the faction lord bosses, and his content is when you send your demons out, he sends something that you have to counter with your demons to still get to him and do the damage to him. Or if it's a Praetor's boss, you got to try to send your tanks out first so that your shield, your weak ones have to make it through the fire basically to get to the other side to do damage at the right time. Or if it's the Frost, like it's King Hearts, tell me, I got ideas. If it's King Hearts, you have to defeat a certain amount of enemies and make it to the top area before he does like a frost push with your merit that pushes you back or something like that, and you go back basically resetting and getting no damage if you don't get there in the right time frame. I have so many plans for this.
So essentially you want an Immortal Codex with demon soldiers.
Exactly. And I want it to be a monthly rotation of like just 1 to 2 bosses, and it just go through the lords in the game. They could do epic lords as the first boss, the mini boss, and then the Lego lords could be like the real boss battle or something, or the higher difficulty.
Okay, so then because it's something that I enjoy doing, you had these bosses that this would be limited event time bosses where they had the boons, right? So like you pick extra attack, or if you applied a poison, now you have a chance to do a burn. So you could do that with the demon soldiers as well, right? Slaughterers gain 15% extra attack, or the bugs, when they explode, they do more splash damage.
Bro, you're tempting me, bro. You're tempting me.
Yeah, exactly. Just little things like that would just be even more fun, right? Especially with those boons. So you can do something like that too, if you wanted to, just to make it a little bit more spicy.
Boy, you got me thinking that it's coming right now. Like, I'm actually hyped about that.
Well, this is all positive. I do like that idea though, like an immortal codex for the demon soldiers. That'd be really intriguing to see.
Great. And then what's cool about it, you can have two versions. So you can have a version that's like Eternal Spire, where you just have the demons and they're like gated at a certain level, and then you can have like the unhinged version. I don't know what the real title would be, but that'd be based on your demons and your BP. So you can have like a version that's like a safe mode for people to play with the demons, and then the other one's more rewards, but you got to have a more developed account to do really well in that content. So I just want to see what it does. So, I mean, can you tell I've been thinking about this?
No, I like the idea. I mean, I think I told you this. I don't know if I mentioned it during the last episode, but I would like to see like a demonic crusade where it's sectioned off in factions. So, like you have to defeat the piercers to get to the northerners. Eventually, what your end goal is get to the arborers and bring those down. Something like that. Instead of being mix and match as it was in this last one, I just like the fact that if you use the faction to their special moves to their power, to their advantage, and then you try to then decipher that with a set of demon soldiers, that would I think that's something like that would also add a little bit of spice to the content like that.
I just didn't want to go against the curse faction because all of that crowd control is going to be a problem.
Well, we do have a hero that does not apply for it. Maybe there's one that come in that cannot be stunned. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh wait, you know what? I just sent a bunch of aerial units and I'll be fine.
Well, there we go. They don't. Do they have? They have one aerial. That
they have a few, but a lot of them don't attack air.
Maybe that's...
So it's interesting.
All right. So then, in terms of in terms of content that I wish that they would really revise before they jump into a new mode, and we talked about this one as well, was the fact that they said that they're thinking about bringing in a real-time arena pretty soon. Based on the interview, it should be coming here within a month or two if their timetable was correct.
I'm cool if that waits another year. Just to say it early.
So
I'm cool for waits.
when all three of us were together, Arturus, you and myself, I pretty much said no. I'm not really in favor until they fix the one that we have right now. Yeah. But you guys then brought up other points. I don't know if you want to bring them, but one of them was, well, maybe in real-time arena it won't be the who can, go and plug the spawn point the fastest.
Because to be honest, that's a good chance that's what it's going to be. And then one of the challenges with this game is a little more strict. As far, maybe it's a player base, but I think it's more importantly, the roles are way more important in this game than like a raid. So when they say take one champion away and they take the Lynch champion of your team away, your team is terrible. Like you pick your group and then you take one off each person's team. That can really destroy entire teams. So I would be very interested in how that will play out. And like you said, like first to plug the spawn point isn't going to be that fun.
I mean,
like, how do you balance that?
Yeah, exactly. And then the other thing I'm thinking about too is, do you have band faces? How many band faces do you have? Is there one particular hero that you can eliminate right at the start, and then one that you can ban after all the draft has been done? It's just, they better be careful on how they apply this, because if they really lean it too much towards the pay-to-win heroes, they're going to lose people on this right away.
Yeah, and I think that was, to me, the biggest fall to me in the previous game that I played, was once that was introduced, it really showed how pay to win the game was. And then the champion started to just skyrocket and skyrocket and skyrocket, and the stuff they could do. And for the most part, it was really just for PvP stuff. Like the PvE stuff skyrocketed crazy too, but it was like I'm not used to the PvP stuff, so why am I having to suffer this badly in PvE content also? So it was like, that is something that it is. I'm not going to say I'm against it, but I'm against it being done poorly. That's probably a good way to put it. I'm against it being done poorly.
That is my concern right now, because I have been adamant, and it's not an area that I cover in my channel, because I find it to be boring, to be honest. Because once you figure out a meta team or two, that's it. You're set for it. I think, and even for those that don't have the roster, one particular facet of the arena might completely just turn them off, right? So I know that there for a while, like Arturo's was like saying, I'm good in air and AoE, but if is the Saturday Sunday they hit me with single target, I am either not going to push Overlord, or I'm getting kicked out of Plat 3. That's how hard it is. And it's because he didn't have the heroes, or doesn't have the heroes for that. Same thing with me. It's like in Forerunners, anti-air is my poorest, and that's one that is easy to pick on. But it all has to do with the fact that you don't have the heroes that you need to really push that progress. So if in real-time arena they come in with the same angle, it's going to be a disaster, and that's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah, and I think live arena should be introduced later when the hero pool has gotten bigger. That's the biggest concern to me. It has to be more rock, paper, scissors options before this comes out, because that's the challenge we have with arena. I mean, of course, it's an early game because it's early game. It's early game mode because it's early game, but right now it is kind of locked to like 1 or 2 meta teams in each version of the arena right now, and that's because there's so few champions out there. So there needs to be some champion that, because you did this on your team, like there needs to be some PvP focused champions too. Like they do something like they increase the, like you can have like a modifier, like they increase the HP of the enemy's demons they have to fight by like 10% or something, or for one wave you could do like something special, like some little things to tweak it up a little bit before live arena comes out. But I'm very interested to see how it will happen. I just really want to take the time, and please don't rush it. Because I don't want to feel compelled, and I hated the time windows of playing it too.
If they want to, put it in Forerunners, we can kind of give it a whirl, but take the feedback into play, right? Don't just say we can fix this after we roll it into global, or put it in the test server so we can do some battles there and see how it goes. But to me, like, red flags just spring out when I see.
I haven't seen a scenario where it works in any gacha game I've played. So
here's new PvP content, but we haven't even tried to fix the one that we have right now. So we'll see how it goes. So in terms of and then the only other thing that I added on top of this is that I'm just hoping that they add more GBG maps eventually down the line, that maybe it doesn't take a whole season to rotate him. Maybe they start rotating them weekly, and more come into play, or put like 3 or 4 on the dock. My idea would be, give us like, okay, here are 4 tower maps that you can choose from. You pick it, and then you form your defense around that. Right.
Right. I like that.
Yeah. And then, besides that, I think my only other gripe was just turning off friendlies during GVG when the actual battles was going on, and hopefully they don't have anything like that. And we're taking one step forward with GVG, but I'm hoping that eventually, if either real-time arena comes into play and you want to buff up a little bit of the current PvP content, let us also fix our gear in that content so it sticks.
Yeah, and I'll say too, bouncing back, just to bounce back for a moment, the main reason I have a big issue with live arena is a lot of stuff in arena is time sensitive, and you probably can't slow down the world in live arena like we do in the content we play right now.
Yeah, that might actually come into play too. Yeah, challenge. Right. So when you're trying to slow down play, and you're trying to place in, like, say, Cyrene, quickly, how is that going to look on the other end? Or if you're trying to slow your, for example, Ares' passive is very specific, and you have to put them down right at the spot. So how is that then going to translate back and forth and stuff? That is, I didn't think of that. So that's a good point by you. All right. So then, in addition to that, we started. So anytime that new content gets introduced into the game, we start thinking right away, okay, they're going to have to introduce heroes for us to then go and explore that content, right? So when you think in real-time arena, I just right away is like, well, I'm going to start seeing banners with arena heroes in them.
Yeah.
Well, they have said that they're going to try to buff current heroes. It's just which ones and then how they're going to do it, right?
I think what they should do, I think this is a Christmas list answer, by the way. They should take a survey of the top 20 heroes that need to be reworked, and they should make it something that we give our actual response of this is our choices of which heroes need to be reworked, and then they could show a list of saying, based on the list, here's the ones you think needs the biggest reworks. And we're going to start on this list, and we're going to continue to roll these out over the next period of time. And because the player base, to be honest, knows, like, yeah, there's some trolling, yeah, there's some things, but the player base knows what champions they really aren't using.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they should be able to tell that. I know that they're accumulating analytics on which heroes we're using for certain content. That's why early on with Semrah, they had to buff it because people were getting too narrow-minded on that hero. Yeah, too comfortable. It was like, this is it. These are the top leaderboard teams, so we're going to stay here. And they said, no. Here is what we actually had in mind. So here is how we're going to structure this.
I'm so glad they did that too, because that makes the content versatile.
No, I mean, the first one, you right away, you started, maybe I can just bring my Drake's Chasm team. And you can do that to an extent now, but you can't do that Laya and Laurel, switch around, or you cannot bring Hollow in with, try to boost rage all the time. No, you have to contend with. And I think that was a positive for them before they rolled it out to global. So yeah, I'm looking to see how now, the one thing that I think it might become a crutch, because I'm starting to see it, is that some of the heroes may just be buffed with an artifact. So they did that with Livian a little bit. Wrath was definitely, he got a little bit of a buff with this artifact, but you have to level that artifact. I think that what was the other one? Teowin's artifact is actually very good because it does add vulnerability to it. Which, by the way, you guys in Moonton do the same thing for an assault. Kind of bring him back to what he was in the bug mode.
That
just
would be
so he's useful, at least for some people, to push that Drake's Chasm. I don't think it would hurt the game, but that's just my opinion.
100%.
You could fix that with an artifact if you wanted to, instead of just completely say, "Oh, oops, we did not intend it to work that way." So
spoiler alert, since you mentioned that, let me know if I'm still showing up on screen when I say this right here. Can you still see me right now?
I'm have you? Yep, I have you.
Okay, good. So I have a video that I'm making soon, and it was exactly on this topic you were just saying. And it was on reworks, and one of them was like, what champions need to be reworked, and on my list was Kaneza, and I said, don't change her kit, but she needs an exclusive artifact, and crap, it just disappeared off my screen. Where did my notes just go?
Oh no, he's going blind, boys. He's flying blind. He's flying blind.
There it is. I think I remember it. Wow, that is crazy. It literally just disappeared. That's bonkers. But it was basically, she needs to have an exclusive artifact that I found it. I got it. Here we go. Okay, we're back. She needs an exclusive artifact that gives her a 25% chance to proc stun for 1 second on her basic attacks. It's a 2-hitter, so it's still RNG, but it's a chance to do it.
Okay.
And a 50% chance to give her a shield equal to 20% of her health on each dodge that lasts for 6 seconds. And also a 20 scale to 50% more damage to stun targets. But the thing is, she's only doing it for a small window because stun only lasts for so short. So it can't really be overpowered unless you build other champions around it. It makes her feasible. It makes her kind of do what she's built to do already. Without making it overpowered content, it kind of makes it content where the artifact gives you that alternate mode that you can play with as it. And it sounds overpowered till you play it. And you're like, wait a second. This actually, brings a little balance to the kit, because not everybody needs a kit rework. I'm sure most of them don't want to have that all the time. Some of them, like you said, just need an exclusive artifact that really makes them step out other than just damage. Like, can we get some mechanics that make them great? And that'll make it awesome in Semrah. So.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking right away when you mentioned the stun with the artifact. So it's just like...
And it makes you want to build it fast.
They kind of did the same, almost the same thing with Admiral Claw, except that he has a condition to it, which was it was perplexing when we first read it. But eventually, when Arcturus and I talked about it, it's like we could see it as to why they only did like a third of a second, and then if he's on his passive, he can't do it, because otherwise I think that he would be a little bit more too overpowered with the CC effect if he did. But I can kind of see your point in terms of how little things like that could make some heroes valuable. The thing is that right now the gleaming, I think it's gleaming, right? The gleaming meteorite economy is a little bit on the downside, a little bit, right? So it takes a while to get these artifacts leveled. So I think that if they offer more opportunities, which they do in Semrah, we do have our pick if we want to get those essence to eventually level them up.
You're right.
And they make them a little bit more frequently, then yeah, I can see the artifacts being as a way to try to buff some of these heroes that we have. Now, in terms of buffs as well, though, I don't think artifacts are going to help it too much, but we have the HP and defense base scaling heroes that they're saying that they're going to try to make more viable in the future. Now, the thing that you can, I think it has to be more on the multiplier end, right? Instead of having to build so much HP and defense, because then you can make him almost unkillable. I think that they have to work.
Champions, yeah,
exactly. So you have to kind of work on it in terms of I think is more on the multiplier end. I know that during the interviews there were ideas being brought up about maybe having a way to do like instead of inspiration, which is an attack boost, that you would have something that would do HP boost or defense boost.
Yeah.
Now, whether that would actually bring that damage up, I'm not too sure how they're going to balance that with making the hero too, I guess in a way, too strong in terms of viability before it takes an effect.
I do wonder how that would work. You have a really good point with that. I think it has to be something where if they take a certain amount of hits, then it wears off. I think that'd be a good way to go about it. Like, it's not going to be they could just get super tanky. Like, it's got a condition to it, just like what is it, Equine Aegis or Aegis Equine, whatever it is that Edith has, where the more hits she takes, the more she loses that ability. There's got to be some risk in this, or you're just going to have invincible champions lined up every time.
Yeah, or maybe the buff not lasting as long as inspiration. I don't know. There has to be something. But you know that these heroes have multipliers in addition to everything else that they have. So maybe that's where they need to look as to how the damage is being multiplied based on the formula that they picked for this particular stats, right? So if you're going to make somebody do damage based on defense and you're only doing like 0.1 of it, maybe you just try looking into 0.2 and look to see if that makes them a little bit more viable in terms of damage when you build them for that. But they're gonna have
whatever they do. Don't build Stone Skin. Don't do it.
Well, that's one.
Whatever you do.
No, but you know what? Since you brought it up, that's what could happen. Is if you buff this too much, these tanks could become like something like that. Like you're trying to get through Stone Skin in Raid Shadow Legends. Yeah, so it's going to be it's going
UDK.
to be. Oof. Yeah. All right. So, any desire for any type of content that has 6 heads in it? No. Okay. I just had to.
I had to arms. I'll take more arms. Apparently, the heads are really hard to make. Apparently,
do we want 2 arms at a different time, or do we want 6 arms rotating?
I just want him on one arm. I want him on one side of the body so I can look to the right and be okay.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Now I had to ask that. Okay. You brought up Raid Shadow Legends, so I had to bring it up.
They won't bring up the head, so apparently it's just down in the water. I don't know.
Okay, and then the only other major topic that I think that was really a sticking point there with Fastidious there for a minute was the fact that they're not being too transparent on the actually summon rates for the heroes. And there's also something that they said that was funky going on with the substats in some particular gear. So this is all RNG, I guess. And so let's just bring that into the RNG umbrella. Let's focus on the summon rates a little. There are a lot of new games that I see where I log in and I try them out for a couple hours just to see what it is going to be like. Where right away you go into the summoning portal. And right away, there's a list of every hero in the game. And then based on the summoning currency, it tells you this is the exact chance you have to acquire each one of these heroes. Why isn't Moonton doing that? I'm wondering if they just want to stay with, like in Raid Shadow Legends, stay in 2021 and not move that forward? Or is it the fact that they think that they could turn too many people off if they see that a Komet and a Vorias and a Hatsuit has a different rate than an Azor and a Cratch?
It's funny because, like, okay, so when I first heard this, I'll be honest, when I first heard this, I thought it was more of a nothing burger when I first heard it. Because I was like, if I get a champion, I get him. But then I started to think, okay, there's different caveats to this. So there's a good and a bad side to this. The good side is, if it's public, we'll know what champions are coming. We'll know how the odds are, which are good. But then they can't go back and change them like they've done a couple of times already, of putting different champions in different buckets. And then also there's the perceived thought of value. So if you have champions that are in this bucket, you automatically think they're less valuable. The same thing we think with Regulus. He's an easy champion to get, but he's amazing. But because we know he's in this bucket, then we kind of like undermine, and then we're like, oh, he's not good. We don't put him to work and stuff. And I think that may be the concept they want to avoid, of some of the champions being perceived less valuable because they're in these different tier of buckets. That's the only concept that I can think of. I think now that I think back on it, they should have the option of you seeing what they are, and they should capitalize on it. They should say, hey, just so you know, the rotation of rarities is going to change in the next 3 weeks. Here's the champions that are going to change. And you may not know if they're going to go up or down or however that's going to go, but that just lets you know, and then they can put a banner out before that, and then it's an option. But there's also the flip side of the backlash of people saying, oh, they're just, spending stuff to get more summons out of us. Yeah, but it's that kind of game. That's what we signed up for. So it's so much middle ground of like, what is the right way to go? Because I understand both perspectives now that I've stopped thinking of it as a nothing burger, because I'm like, how would people behave if they saw the champion they wanted is not the same fairness to get with the same gems that they got of this, or it's like a 10% compared to the other ones being a 30%. So it's like you even feel like you visually can see that the grind is harder. So I'm wondering, how does that play out? Like, how do they manage that? Because let's be honest now, there's one thing that we do as players. We will find some way to be upset about some content, if one way or another.
Yeah, but I think that for me, it shouldn't be like something that they need to hide, because eventually the player base starts catch on, right? That there are some heroes that just seem to pop up more frequently than others. You can see that in the global chat. And they kind of, in my perspective, now this is my perspective, being a beta player, they kind of already kind of opened the door to this, because very early on, the lords that were in the common pool, so we're talking about Morrigan, Benoma, Twinfin, those heroes were listed under the legendary bucket. And it said you only have a 0.5% chance. But players started catching on that these 8 heroes were not as summonable as the other ones. Yeah. So then the developers suddenly said, okay, yes, we acknowledge these guys have a lower rate than the rest of the pool. And so now is what we see on in the game, that the Lords are 0.04, everybody else is at 0.46. They opened that door already, or they kind of, you know, just a little bit ajar. So why now not do it with everybody else? That's I mean, they kind of already moved in that direction. They shouldn't drag your feet on it, and just be transparent, because I think that people look for games where things are going to be transparent, and then you don't take a criticism as bluntly as you do sometimes. Other games eventually get it harsher than Moonton has, but when it comes to summoning rates, but eventually, just let people know, you know. And then based on how you educate and play in the game, don't discount those heroes, right, that are in the higher bucket or the most common bucket, because they may be useful for you in some content in the game eventually, that you may even be able to carry to the end game. So, you know, so I wouldn't as a player, that would be my first thing. If they list them, then I would explicitly say, don't discount anybody, because somebody's going to have utility for something in this game. If you're going to see Edith might be in the second most common pool, and you start pulling her more frequently than you do a Hatsu, and then you say, well, what am I going to use Edith for? Well, eventually down the line, you're going to have to deal with gear dungeons. So those are little things that you always need to keep in mind, because there's always something that these heroes are going to excel on.
Yeah, and you bring a good point with that too when you say they opened the door to this already. So just think of how many epics are really rare, like Estrid or Wrath or Breed, or I mean, sometimes even Mari doesn't show up that often. Or if you pull is it Iona? If you pull a Iona, you basically thought you pulled a legendary, because how rarely you see her.
And now she has her own animation, so it's like, oh, did I just pull somebody good, right?
Exactly.
Like, in a way, yes. You know, early on, Iona is going to help you a lot. Now, if you actually team her up with Ingrid, she actually gets a little bit of a boost as well. But, you know, it's just, I mean, it just, I just would like to, just to alleviate any concern, just list them. Put them on the list. And, you know.
I think that it's just one of those things, the sooner you rip the Band-Aid off, the better. Because it's worse if you let it fester, because then you just leave it up to whatever people's opinions are, other than just saying, this is worth just making a change.
Yeah, exactly. And then the gear substats, you know, I know that when I joined into Fastidious stream, he told me that he still doesn't trust it. So he has a lot of fabrics piled up. He's not forging those sets yet because he doesn't trust it. Have you seen any discrepancies lately? Have you been forging those gears that you get from the gear dungeon fabric?
What I've been doing to test it more, I have been doing a lot on my main account, but it's gotten to the point where it's only a handful at a time. But even today, I jumped on the test server because I like to see where the code is headed for the game. And I burned all of them, and I got a couple ancients out of it. So I was like, I like the odds of that. I think that was cool, you know, to get a few of those. But there was something else that was listed that I'm actually not necessarily concerned about, but I want to see more evidence of. On the list of available mats, it says you also can create unidentified gear. It's one of the options that it shows on there. Is something that you can forge. If you forge your pieces, you can get a piece of unidentified gear. And I haven't seen one yet. So I do want to see that completely fleshed out, even if it's like one out of every 4,000 mats, you know. I want to see it pulled out all the way to fruition. I want to see evidence of everything working. I will say I do like the way it's headed. I think that whatever update they're doing with that is going to pair nicely with that recommended gear. That the recommended gear tweaks, that's going to be real nice when that gets completely fixed. And I start to at least see unidentified gear in there, because that's the piece of gear I want the most out of everything in the game.
Right. So I only been lucky enough in both accounts to get one one unidentified piece, I think.
Oh, nice.
So you know, it's there. I just don't know what the actual rates are. But in terms of the subs, the last thing you want to see, and if happens so frequently, is something like that Vengeance set. for a while there, we were just seeing healing effect with attack bonus and something else. And it was like, where's the crit rate and crit damage? Just not showing up.
Yeah.
And then
it
would
should be
say
100% RNG. It should be somewhat focused.
And then it was like, it's there. And then you would, no, look at the data. Look at, we're forging all those pieces. It's not showing up. And then it's like, oh, sorry. Yeah, we'll fix it. And then it takes a while. So now I'm curious
on
as
new
to
content as a challenge.
So is the morale set actually going to drop HP defense as it should? Because those are the heroes that usually want to put them on. Is it set to drop that more frequently? Or is it like very minute? So I don't know. We'll see. I haven't forged too much, I guess, in a sense yet, because I am hoarding to it until I feel a little bit more confident. Now that we're in the test server and we can, if we have the time to set the farming up, yeah, we can probably test it out. But yeah, sometimes it's I can understand how some players get just tortured by the RNG and they don't get the gear that they're expecting to get.
And another part that goes with that, you bring a good point when you mentioned it before, but comboing with the points you were just saying, these are completely new gear sets. This is 6 new gear sets that you have to be thinking about. If this is going to be reworked in any fashion or upgraded to whatever level they want to get it to, where it's optimal and it's working and the RNG works a little more in our favor, there should be an increase also in gear storage first. Because a lot of people aren't touching it because they just don't have the space to add 6 new gear sets to their inventory. Because, the champions that you have, the gear, whether they're geared or not geared, it still counts towards the total. So that also makes it a challenge where, you really don't even have space to add these gear sets yet until you do gear cleansing. You don't want to do gear cleansing. You never touch the gear content. Even when it gets updated, you don't have the space to touch it. So I think what they probably should do for that is have a grandfathered level of Pantheon, where if you reach that level already, you automatically get that boost of gear count. I think that's a good way to implement it. Don't add it to the end. Just put it somewhere like, I don't know, level 150 or something. For those that have already played long enough, still get that reward, and those can work to it. So they have an idea of how to get that going. But right now, I'm always like 40 gear from being full.
Yeah. Well, I think that they're probably going to see if this new gear enhancement tool or gear recommendation feature is going to improve that. And then maybe down the line, they say, okay, give them another 100 or another 200. But given that there's new content in the game also coming in the game, you never know if there might be a new set or two that comes out for that specific content as well. So I can see so we're always welcome to get more gear slots, but I think one of the ways that they're trying to remedy that is probably with the gear recommendation feature. So then we can just go into a sell screen and then just sort it based on our gear recommendation, and then just sell the pieces that we don't want.
Yeah, I know it's going to roll out soon. I know it's last minute as a wish list to say this. I hope that they see the content. I hope they see this. But please make some type of visual content as far as like a video to explain to people the benefit of it, other than a post or something, because sometimes they skip past that. But I'm going to tell you, one thing that I did enjoy about the previous game was I looked forward to when they put a video out. I looked forward to it because it was something, whether it was what I liked or not, I loved that it was a new way to announce the content. And the only thing that I found was funny was that video would come out and like 2 minutes later, it'd be 8 reaction videos. Like, how did you watch it this fast? But then I realized there was an embargo.
Yeah, exactly. For them, it was an embargo, right? But yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that like here we kind of like did a minuscule version of it, right? Where it's like, if I'm gonna get a warlord set, this is what I'm looking for. But yeah, I guess in the whole context of things, it would be nice if they set something up in their YouTube or maybe in Instagram or whatever, and just say, here's where you can actually see this lined up and do screenshots of everything that is going on, instead of waiting for us to pop in a video 48 hours later saying, hey, guess what's coming. And for some and I'm telling you, for some of my guildmates, it's been, when did this pop out? And it's like,
Yeah.
How long has
And
this been in the game?
like a month ago.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, I've been covering this for 3 months now, kind of giving people a heads up, but it's coming. Like the first 2 stages of epilogue is like, hey, this kicked me in the ass, but I was able to clear it. Here, I'm going to show you this, and I'm going to leave the other 4 until I can beat them with this account. But yeah, it was like, some people don't watch YouTube videos, so they need something where they can go and really do like a quick peek preview and just know that all these features are coming to them really soon.
Because there's a lot in the game that people don't even know about. Like some people don't even know there's an actual fitting room in the game. You could try pieces of gear from other people without taking it off them and try it on. Like people don't know it exists. But it's like the more that they cover it and make it stuff at the forefront, you're like, wait a second. And then everybody can be on the same page.
And I guess that kind of fits into this, but we didn't really discuss it. It's that whole gear interface, in terms of how the swapping and how we lay it all out in terms of building their hero and the gear plan. That needs to be cleaned up a little bit so you don't have to do too many hidden clicks, because I can tell you right now, I was actually wondering, okay, where would they have placed this gear enhancement thing? So I started looking, okay, nothing here. Okay, now I'm going to click here. Oh, no, nothing there. I'm going to click here. Nothing yet. Nothing regarding the new thing. The gear, So then it was like, could they possibly have hid it in here? Now, how many people come in here? How many people coming? And then they hide it right here, right behind me. So I have to actually, sorry guys, I have to take myself off screen for a minute. You see this little blue button right here? Yeah, in the bottom left, that's where they put it. That's where they placed it. That's where
I didn't even know that one was there. I didn't know that one was there. I only knew it from forging mats. When you forge materials, it pops up in the top right-hand corner of the temple. That's the only. I didn't even know it was here. So that's good you mentioned that.
So I was looking for it, and I'm sorry, I know I'm off screen here, but I was looking for it, and I was like, where could they have is it in gear plans? No, it's not going to be. Where did they play it? I was like going,
that's
clicking
where video
around,
helps.
and and I was like, oh wait, could they have possibly? Because I'm thinking Moonton this. Could they have possibly done it? Oh yes, they did. This is exciting. They put, and now you have to then come over here and look in the bottom left, and hopefully your eye catches it. But it's right there.
At that point, you really just have a thing that's called gear alter or gear modification, and then all these selections to be in there, like they did with the war room.
Yeah,
you can simplify the content.
That would have seemed to be the more obvious way to do it, right? It would be like rules here or recommendations or something in here, and then you said, but they put it in the cell feature. And I already have plans to make a video for it, but it's like, how many people go to the cell feature? I see everybody saying, I'm always 50 away from filling up. I have to go.
I am like right now. I'm like 20 away right now.
So
and trying to run first place in this event.
How many people have thought about clicking sell before saying, "Oh, that's where it's going to be"? So this whole interface needs to change.
This is where videos matter. Like this is where you have to show people that. I mean, it still could be in a better spot, but if it's going to be there, show people how to get to it. Because most of the player base does not read the updates that come out. We just know about it. Eventually, somebody in our guild tells us about it if we're active as a guild, or if we saw it on YouTube. But most of the player base, maybe, I don't know, 75. 80% of the player base don't watch videos and stuff on the game. They just jump on, play it, see if they like it or not.
Yeah, it's a small population that actually watch YouTube videos. I think, Raid Shadow Legends is like very specific niche of players that watch YouTube videos. Everybody else is just trying to do it on their own. And you knew well which players did not watch YouTube videos, because those are the ones that most likely went to content creators and paid them to do whatever it is that needed to be done. So yeah, exactly. You got it.
All facts.
So that's pretty much my list. Do you have anything else that we did not discuss regarding the future of the game? And I guess in a sense,
I just want them to make more videos to tell what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, we are right now. Technically, we are.
Yeah. Well, and
But
I
I would love the
wish.
official channel.
My hope is that eventually, once we start getting a little bit more of an audience with these episodes, that maybe they start thinking about actually leaking some stuff to us. But right now, sometimes the only things that we have to depend on are Destin and his leakers and trying to see what content comes in. But sometimes it's just like you have to take it with a grain of salt because things might change in a fly. And whatever it is that they are actually seeing in the code may not be actually the stuff that actually is released. So that's why I kind of just wait to make sure that the content comes in. And fortunately, since I have a Forerunner account, we can actually play around with it a little bit. And then I can get ready for it in global when it pops in. So I've made recommendations regarding the camp. I know that they're already set to release it, but I don't know if you've been toying around with this, but one of the things that they did is that they destroyed the wood economy. They completely destroyed it because now
after a while it's irrelevant. It's almost irrelevant.
That was the problem, is that we were getting too much wood into our stocks. Now it goes out faster than you can build it.
So you've been more active with the camp than I have. Once I got it to 10, I tapped it, but I wasn't nearly as active as that. So that's good to know.
But this is because I wanted to see what's going to be efficient and what's not going to be efficient when this rolls out. Because the majority of players are not seeing this yet. So for me, it was, what is it that if they were to roll this out, is what is it then that you're going to want to emphasize when you get to level 10? Now, one of the things is that if they leave it like this, it's going to take a little bit longer to get to level 10. Okay? If they leave the wood economy,
what do you think? Maybe like a month or so?
It probably will be a little bit longer. Yeah, because right now the way that we're spending the wood to get some of the tasks done, especially the stuff that we need to do here in the trading hall.
Yes, that's different. Yeah, those are different.
It's going to be 4 times the cost. At least is what I'm projecting, or at least based on the numbers that I'm seeing, is how much it's costing to do this. So in order for you to increase your camp, you're going to have to do 5 of these, or you're going to have to do a gold one. You have to wait for a gold one to pop up, for example. So if it's going to cost you that much wood to do it, and this is going to be your sticking point to then upgrade this, so then you can upgrade this here,
to get the harbor, to get the trading hall.
So to get to the next level, it's going to take longer to get there. But then now that you have level 10, it's like, okay, if I want to come and get this 20 legendary dust and 14 energy, is it really going to be worth for me to keep an eye on my wood, right? To be persistently and then clicking on that, and then do you want to deal with that? And at this point in time,
as if I do want it to be a little bit more rewards for that,
exactly,
or at least a chance for better reward, like double or something.
So if I was to make the recommendation right now, it would be no. I mean, that green check mark can stay there because I don't want to have to continuously think about making sure that Esther is chopping wood, right? So the only things now,
I don't have Esther on my account yet.
And so level 10, all I'm thinking about is, okay, so if I'm gonna farm something, I'm gonna farm corn, because that's one that is used the most frequently, right? And I'm gonna come in here to the mine to collect the diamonds, the energy, and the mithril. This is what really I want more than anything else.
Yeah.
And then
I do like that if you ignore most stuff, you could just tap the mine and call it a day.
And then you're going to get the ore. So that ore right now, then you can go get and then carry it over here to the harbor, send the ship out. And then when it comes back with between 20 and 40 mithril. So if every day you do this, then you're going to get a good pool of mithril throughout the week. Then you can use to level your artifacts. But you have to get it to level 10 to take full advantage of this. But that's essentially it right now where I am with the camp, is that once you reach level 10, and you don't want to deal with the wood, just deal with the mine and the harbor. That's it. And then you go back and forth.
It's true. That's it. It's true. And you literally don't have to raise. I still make the joke: year 1 players finish farming gear rate 2, year 2 players finish farming asparagus.
Exactly.
And it's good that I love the fact that we're getting a bunch. Like, I know that some people are like, are we getting heroes and stuff too fast? Man, send them. You got them ready, put them out. That's my perspective, because if the big meat and potatoes content is done right, I don't care what heroes they put out, as long as the heroes aren't bloat heroes that are just terrible. All the heroes they put out are actually pretty well made. If they're putting them out whatever pace, is fine, as long as when the content comes out for the game, the content is well put together. That's the most important thing to me. And they got a pretty good track record of putting out champions that have some place to use in the game for like the past 9 months now, and it's a year-old game. So it's a good enough track record for me to say, okay, keep it going.
Yeah, to me right now, no hero is really useless unless is name absent. That's pretty much it. So
absent or harpoon. Now, I'm gonna say this: your absent is good if you just started the game.
Let's just leave epics. Let's just leave epics out of this right now. Hopefully, harpoon gets an artifact that just makes him really good. But yeah,
it's just 2x is all his damage.
It's just that poor fish. It's just Captain Reeve fodder. I mean, that's what he is.
He really is Reeve fodder.
Yeah,
Captain Reeve is treacherous, bro. He just took care of his whole team. He killed his whole team there, and then he re-killed Maureen in the video. So no, you did this, sir.
Yeah, exactly. MortarMike, thank you very much for kind of rescuing the last half episode that we had recorded last time. It was fun to talk to you about this again, and for us to give a perspective in terms of what's coming down the pipeline and what has rolled out already in the game.
Yeah, as always, fun, always great. I do hope more and more people see these episodes, because I tell you, some of the best conversations happen, but also you learn about so much content that's coming down the pipeline, and you don't have to wait for 20 other videos on each single topic. You can get them all here. So it's a big plus.
Well, thank you. We do appreciate the support and your camaraderie when it comes to doing these. And I look forward to doing many more with you in the future. All right. For everybody else, for MortarMike, for myself, thank you all very much for tuning in and watching. Stay tuned for next week for another Wars Going On episode. And please do remember that in the Dragon Slayers community, we just don't play the game, we slay.